Hello, friends. It's Hank, your pajama scholar, with an ambient glow radio at 7. It's kind of interesting. We've got quite a bit to discuss. I'll try and get through as much of it as possible. But first, I think I'd like to tell a story. It just happened recently. Now, when I do an AGR, I like to have my customary beer to go along with it. So I go, because I only want one beer, because I'm trying to start a path where it's not going to lead to drunkenness all the time. So I only wanted one, just for the show. And so I knew the grocery store I would typically go to would sell in greater quantities, and they wouldn't sell one. And all I needed was one. So I went to this other store that I could get just one. And when I walked in, I was largely ignored and passed one of the guys there, and he said nothing. And I went back and asked him a question. I said, because I couldn't find what I was looking for, I said, do you sell anything, just one beer? That would be cold. So I've got a show to do, and I'm up against time. And he said, well, you have to wear a mask. I said, no. I'm not going to do that. I said, where are I continued my line. Where are the beers so I can get this one that I need? I've got something to attend to. Well, he said, it's store policy. And then he gave up. And there was a guy below him that also worked there. Another guy walks over and says, you got to put on a mask. It's store policy. No, I want to buy this beer here. And then they send over a third lady with mask in hand. See, this is very typical. Okay, bullies, Nazis, anybody that's a fucking moron, they generally will, or cowards really, they will have to gang up on you. They have to. Because in their nature, they're cowardly. And in their nature, they know they're wrong. And there is no conviction in doing something that is wrong. There's no spirit in it. So you have to have a group around you that's going to build that spirit instead of just doing what is right. Well, she comes over and she hands this mask to me. I said, no. I said, I'm going to buy this beer. And she said, well, if you don't put it on, I'm going to call the police. And I said, oh. And what do you expect they will do about it? Well, firstly, she said, it's a mandate in the county that you have to wear them. And I said, no, this is not true. It is not a mandate in the county that you have to wear them. It's a mandate in the city. And in my mind, both they're mandates, they're edicts, they're not laws. They're based on fraud and lies. And even if it was a law, just like the fucking British and their Stamp Act or whatever, I would not obey it if it was not a just law. If a man walked into a room and there was a man there that I didn't know, and the man handed me a pistol and said, shoot this guy, I would not do it. And it says, well, it's the law. It's the law. It's the initiation of ritual. You must take this pistol and go over here and shoot this man, or otherwise you will be punished. Well, I will not shoot that man because it's wrong. So I'm not interested in debating the finer points of the law or having a fucking argument, because it's just not my way. No means no. In the Bible it says, let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. When I say no, I fucking mean it. She said, well, I won't sell to you then. I said, well, that is well within your right, but it feels like discrimination to me. And it's like, white people in America have not experienced the prejudice that's been brought against black people and Jewish people. So I just was thinking to myself, you know what? This is exactly what it would be like. These are the exact kind of people that if a black guy was to walk into a restaurant or even try to go to a store to buy beer or something, and it would be that same type of bastard that would go, we don't serve your kind around here, Negro. Or, where's your star? Uden. Where's your star, Uden? Exactly those same type of fucking weak-minded people that know neither principle nor law, nor have respect for mankind, appreciation for liberty. They're animals. And I lost my patience with it. Well, for one, I was running out of time. Two, if you don't want my business, you're not getting my business. And if I can't get what I want, I'll find another way to get what I want. There's no doubt about that. So I don't need your ass. I thought business was about making money. So she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. She doesn't know where the fuck she's coming from. She doesn't know what the fuck where her authority is derived. And she's losing money for the business. Now, if I were that company, I'd fire her ass. For real. And so it makes me wonder, it's like, how far up the food chain do I gotta go to find the asshole that's going ahead and with these corporate mandates? Not very fucking far. Not very fucking far at all. And then you know exactly who's handing down the orders and who they work for. Why the fuck they're doing what they're doing. Follow the money. Because if they don't want your money, they must be getting it from somewhere else. Either that, or it's basically a fucking conspiracy to overthrow the United States from within. And you would know who is responsible for that. Now, I call a conspiracy to overthrow the United States to disobey our principles. I'll get on to this later in the writing. To disobey the Constitution, to overthrow the Constitution. That is treason, at the very least, sedition. At the very least, what I experienced was discrimination. Now, let me let you in a little secret. Young, white, Christian males that team up with young, black males in defense of our liberty, with women to support us, and the mandate of heaven, with the force of law, we could cut through 100 or 1,000 of these weak-minded sheep, like a hot knife through butter. But a Christian is not appointed to wrath. You can defend yourself, but you're not appointed to wrath. So, I simply took my business elsewhere and got what I wanted. And I got it actually cold, and I got it actually cheaper. And all is good in the universe. But on the way out, I suppose I had lost my patience enough to color a dog. This is exactly what you are. It's just like the French that cooperated with the Nazis, the Vichy. The fucking Vichy government. Not acting out of fear of an actual pandemic or respect for the law. No, you're essentially, in my mind, it boils down to you are a Nazi collaborator. Working in tandem, whether you realize it or not, to overthrow the United States of America and destroy it from within. Now, our founding fathers wrote quite a bit about how America could be destroyed. It would be destroyed only from within. I refuse to let that happen. Now, the man that was below, he said, and I agree with you, the other man that worked there. I said, there has been too much blood shed. We have given too much. We have sacrificed too much. And we are too friggin' serious about this to roll over like a bunch of fucking dogs to lies and bullshit. Hell no. Fuck you. And I'm not the only man that feels that way. Now, when you're at work and they force you to do that, I'm not going to give you a hard time. I'm not even going to give you a sideways look. I'm not going to give you a nasty look, nothing. Because I know that sometimes a situation puts you in there where you got to make sacrifices to eat. Now, you wish everybody would get together and you could all walk out, shut the whole fucking thing down. But I know that's not how it works. But don't come around and fuck with me. Don't hand me no bullshit, because I don't work for you, motherfucker. Whatever happened to the customer is always right kind of reminds me of that scene from Falling Down, where he goes into the McDonald's with that bag of guns. Sensitive trigger. I'll show you guys a clip. Let me see if I can find it. Then I'll get on to the writing. I like an AGR because you never know which way it's going to go. It's all good fun. Oh yeah, we got it. All right, let me give you guys a screen share here.
Hi, can I help you?
Yes, I'd like a ham and cheese omelet and more wham fries.
I'm sorry, we stopped serving breakfast, but we are on the lunch menu now.
But I want breakfast.
Well, you can't have it. We're not serving it.
So you said. Is that the manager?
Yeah,
Could I speak to him, please?
sure. Rick, there's a customer that would like to speak with you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'd like some breakfast.
We stopped serving breakfast.
I know you stopped serving breakfast, Rick. Sheila told me you stopped serving breakfast. Why am I calling you by your first names? I don't even know who you are. I still call my boss Mister. I worked for him for 7.5 years, but I walk in here all of a sudden, total stranger. I'm calling you Rick and Sheila like we're in some kind of AA meeting. I don't want to be your buddy, Rick. I just want a little breakfast.
Well, you can call me Miss Folsom if you want to.
Sheila, we stopped serving breakfast at 11:30.
Rick, have you ever heard the expression, the customer is always right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here I am, the customer.
That's not our policy. You have to order something from the lunch menu.
I don't want lunch. I want breakfast.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm really sorry, too.
Get a gun! Let's get organized. Calm down. Just calm down, everybody. Just sit down. Sit down over there.
Hey. Mister. Where are you going? No. You sit down there and you finish your lunch. Come on. Everybody just relax and take it easy. Come on. Why don't you eat your lunch, please? Eat your lunch. You all need your vitamins A's and B's and... No, it's an accident. It was an accident. The trigger, it's sensitive. It's okay. It's all right. It's a sensitive trigger. Rick, could I have my breakfast, please?
Yes, sir. Sheila?
Rick, Miss Folsom.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
You know what? You were right. I think I've changed my mind. I'm gonna have some lunch. Could I have a double whammy burger with cheese? You getting this?
Yes, sir.
and an order of whammy fries, and, let me see, a chocolate wham shake.
Yes, sir. Sheila, get his order.
Rick, could you get it for me, please? I feel more comfortable now calling you Rick after all we've been through together. How you doing? Enjoying your meal? How about you, son? Is it good? And you, man? How's the food? I think we have a critic. I don't think she likes the special sauce, Rick. That's a joke. Here we go. Thank you. See, this is what I'm talking about. Turn around, look at that. You see what I mean? It's plump, it's juicy, it's 3 inches thick. Now, look at this sorry, miserable, squashed thing. Can anybody tell me what's wrong with this picture? Anybody? Anybody at all?
That's a funny little piece there. I thoroughly enjoy that movie. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, you ought to watch it. It's oddly, I mean, I guess it's just kind of, a period piece, and it's kind of, it's ahead of its, well, I wouldn't say it's ahead of its time, but it could definitely show you where society was going. I mean, you have to just remind yourself if you get irritated. Like most people out there, at best have a 9th grade education. Few of them, when they were in school, ever studied. And when they're out of school, they rarely ever read. And if perchance they do read, it's probably some drivel. And if they absorb entertainment, it's going to be infantile. If they, I think it's Hosea 4:6, something like that. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And so that's, kind of the whole thing, convincing cops that they have the authority to act on a governor's mandate or somebody's superior, or somebody in a store believing that they have to enforce a mandate that's not legal. It's just, it's ignorance. Now, there are a few among us, maybe more than a few, that are not so ignorant, and we're serious, because we're not going to piss away what is, in my mind, like, I know this might be difficult for a lot of people to understand, but I almost look at American principle as sacred, in a sense, because to worship freely, to speak freely, to have the right to defend yourself, I mean, these are all inalienable rights. So they talk about inalienable rights. We hold these truths to be self-evident, which means if you look inside yourself, you'll find that it's true. It's a government. The republic, when properly respected, is self-evident. Because the truth, see, facts are not truth. And a law is not a truth. Like, facts do not equal truth. Laws do not necessarily equal justice. We hold these truths to be self-evident for man to be able to actualize, so that he, in his journey, can find God and have the forgiveness, the ability, the understanding to share that same land with others, to pursue their paths toward God. God is very real. And when you're made a slave, you must fight your way out of bondage, so that you may actualize to a point where you are free to serve God, to act in conscience. A man must be free to serve God. A man must be free Now, Christ is our advocate, our counselor. I know I'm not perfect, far from it. I do things that I wish that I hadn't, and I do things that I don't understand why I do them. And sometimes I do things just to understand why it would be done. That's liberty. And there is licentious liberty, and in natural law, there is an equalizing force. But America stands for the principles that build the foundation, if properly respected, that gives the force of law to give confidence to people so that they might be free and learn that it's not do as thou wilt, but do as thou ought, because the price will always be paid. Slavery is unacceptable. Tyranny is unacceptable. I have a great disdain, a deep loathing. I can accept ignorance, because ignorance is just an absence of learning, and often, sometimes, what you think you know, you don't know, and you find out later that you were wrong, and you revise those ideas, and that when you're young, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and when you're older, you're going to make mistakes too. You're going to make mistakes all the way until you die. Every day, you be confronted with these choices. But we have a framework. We have a framework that respects the inalienable rights, what we call self-evident. I've got a little chat over here. Oh, John, I actually watched one of your videos the other day. I very much enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed it. Talking about the self-glorifiers who gnash their teeth every day to circumvent truth and avoid being exposed. I liked how you talked a little bit about, well, I don't know, I want to go back and review the piece. I did watch it, but it wasn't, it's not the topic at hand. I'm going to try not to get away, but I'm going to try not to get too terribly far away from this lengthy piece. I will set something up and rewatch your work and comment there and continue the discussion. There are a few others that I thoroughly enjoyed conversating with, Mahmudia and Ackerman and Bosley, and they are they're outstanding. Montegraph. But I'll carry on here, and then I'll take great care to read your comments and consider them carefully. Now, I wanted to point out what is a possibility. Okay. Speaking of the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve is misunderstood. It's misunderstood in why it was designed, the end game, the end goal. See, I have family that is attached to the Federal Reserve in a capacity long ago, and it is extended family. And, well, let me just read what I have here and see if I can add some clarifications. The Federal Reserve was not intended or designed to serve as a global institution. In the days of a more laissez-faire capitalism in the United States that was connected to a gold and silver standard, we would have a great boom-bust cycle approximately every 8 years, which the long-term planners of the United States considered that level of volatility to be unacceptable, especially if we were the fledgling nation, the fledgling republic that we are. Consider this. Our republic is very, very young. Other empires, other countries, other societies, other cultures on this earth have dated back far beyond 2,000 years. I mean, the Indians, what are they? As far as I know, what, 4,500, maybe 5,000 years? And we are but infants. We are but babes compared to them. So we must be strong. We must be clever. We must be ruthless at times to make sure that our principles, freedom, can be defended, can be realized, and we, the people of the United States, America, can take a position in the world to defend freedom, to defend our principles, and share them with those who would accept them. This is not an entirely original idea. But our founding fathers fought for it and did codify it. I'll go on. Now, America, the young republic, a fledgling nation, would have to compete with countries, nay, more properly, empires, sometimes 2,000 years in age or longer. Now, the Brits, they drink beer on tables that are older than America. It was necessary to create a system that would rocket the young republic into a technological, economic, military nation that could compete with the ambitious imperialistic empires in a way where America could exert the necessary geopolitical force required to ensure our principles, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness could be defended throughout a world our founding fathers exited. I speak of Europe. A world of despots, tyrants, edict, kings, dictators, and backstabbing intrigue. The Federal Reserve was designed to be a mechanism to ensure an economic trajectory. And as a national institution, which it's not, the banking is separated from, it's kind of like a division of powers, because you can see how bureaucrats can be corrupted. But as an institution, it fulfilled its mandate with a degree of success that has continued to marvel, well exceeding its mandate, forced to integrate and charter a worldwide system, an economic system, stable enough to prevent World War III. And in this, in the wake of World War II, we have seen a fairly peaceful planet. And in the wake of World War II, we have seen, under American protection, American principles, American ideals, an explosion of population in the world. We went from what? I don't know, what was it around like World War I, World War II, to almost the nearly 8 billion we have today. So if American principle, American sacrifice, American courage doesn't mean something to you in the cost of life and the ability for it to create better ideas and freer principles, then you would be, I believe, in error. Now, the creation of the Federal Reserve incidentally coincided with a period in history where World War I was soon to follow. Now, there are, I believe, a group of people that are always trying to instigate yet another world war. Why? Because they'll play both sides. They're going to make all the money. They don't give a shit if your guts go into the grinder. It's your blood, your sweat, your tears, and they're going to go right into the grinder. Stick your head over the trench, and you're going to get it blown off. You know, you'd like to think war is about heroism. But war, there are heroes in war. But there are heroes in peace. Governments and societies have been manipulating money, debt, and credit long before the invention of the Federal Reserve. In Britain, or England, they had the tally stick, which recorded debts and was eventually abolished, creating, I believe, what was to follow the British pound, the pound sterling. And due to the explorers of Europe and British imperialism, domination of the seas, they began to spread English to the world. So we speak English in America, we speak English in Canada, we speak English in Australia, they speak English in the UK, they speak English, and for most people, English is a second language all over the world. So we have now a world standard by which to communicate. But let us not forget that culturally speaking, if English is your native language and you understand it well, then you hold a cultural positional advantage. And we have the British to thank for this. And then also, too, let's not forget America, because we spread that a little bit around, too. Okay. Now, the tally stick system, they did away with that because it was debts. Now, often in societies and in empires, you can find it in the Bible, you can find it in Jewish tradition. It's called a jubilee. In the Jewish tradition, I believe every 50 years, all debts are forgiven. And in the Lord's Prayer, it says, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." Sometimes it says, "Forgive us our trespasses as those who trespass against us." And so, this is a reoccurring principle. The tally stick with the British, for example. It gets to a point where debts must be forgiven. But it also is to say that you forgive your debtors. They forgive your debts, and you forgive your debtors. And the animosity is gone. And why do they call it a jubilee? Well, afterwards there's a big party on both sides because all the hatred is gone. It's time to rebuild. Things are forgiven. And the world cannot operate without forgiveness. I believe they say that like I say, I'm no biblical scholar. I've only recently, within the past few years or so, begun to take it more seriously, but it was something like faith, hope, and love being the greatest of these, or charity being the greatest of these. Something like that. John, do you know? I mean, that would be helpful. Because I know you're a man of the word. So, let me continue. Now, the world, began to be a world with English-speaking people with a rule of law, parliamentary law, rule of law, a return to the model of the Roman Republic, which had the Pax Romana, 400 years of peace. And the English returned it from the Dark Ages with the Magna Carta, giving more power to the Parliament in England, parliamentary representation, prime ministers and such, which, of course, had an effect on the way that we Americans see our structures. So, I give credit where credit is due. Taking the best of past models and trying to build better systems. But no law is good law unless it is in the spirit of the law. There can be no structure, there can be no organization without that foundational principle at the very base being an understanding and knowledge that God is real, God exists. And at the top, on the dollar bill, you find the all-seeing eye, which quite possibly could represent God in a way, in a sense. I mean, it's a triangle. It has 3 sides to represent the Trinity. But this is speculation on my part. Now, when you talk about representation, it's local issues are better resolved by gathering local interest and debating the merit of action in the larger national forum. Now, I'm going to explain how it works. If you've ever sat in on a corporate board or a government commission or something of that effect, kind of goes like this. 1, there's an adherence to decorum. 2, you have a president, a vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary. 3, typically you have proposed resolutions, which is the presenting of plans or objectives. 4, then there's a vote on action, or a point of consideration where questions must be answered or examined, solved, realized, and coalitions are built to prove the quality of the issue of debate until tabled or addressed as a resolution, which means it's a plan of action that is to be resolved. Now, once resolved, each member of the council, board, or commission is expected to carry out that resolution. The time for debate is over. You do not subvert the interests or resolutions of your own group. It is expected you will create and achieve the conditions that will ensure the success of the revolution. You set your personal feelings aside. Well, also too, I have noted, personal feelings are not always set aside because you have the freedom of creativity, whatever is required to generate success. You do not subvert or undermine, sabotage, or disrupt the resolutions of your organization. Loyalty. Now, position is contingent on the degree of success you achieve, the honesty with which you present, the challenges that face you, admit the failures when they occur, build, coordinate a team to manage your objectives. Tasked by resolution, you create success. You are an executive within that sector of the project. Now, minutes are recorded by the secretary, and when the board reconvenes, status reports are expected and must be brief. Additional details pertaining to the project are detailed in a folder or a dossier, whatever you want to speak, however you want to say it, and then distributed to or for review, typically before the board meeting. So the board knows what will be discussed. Now, in the portion of old business, operational executives answer questions based on the reports that they've already followed, and they deliver a very brief overview and possibly petition for an adjustment or resolution that would be required to ensure the success of the project. Often, problems are not solved during board meetings. The role of the president, vice president, past presidents, and the mandatory weekly meetings is to discuss and summon resources, progress, and challenges among the members of the organization, company, or congregation. Pooling resources, accepting advice, and keeping the club informed. Now, information is power, and shared information combined with directives and the weight of resources and experience aligned towards successfully achieving the resolution is power. Presidents, vice presidents, and past presidents have the experience to direct you to the people best suited to help you achieve the goals with which you have been tasked. Generating subcommittees and delegating clarity of communication, establishing timelines, generating reports, careful maintenance of activity, and absolute honesty and financial reporting to the penny and time accurate to the minute. This is especially important in philanthropy because resources are always limited, and to fail is to lose crucial financial and community support. Now, corporations are different. Corporations have an objective to make money for the shareholders. That is their sole purpose. Make money. Now, when making money is the primary objective, environmental, human rights, higher quality products, despite, higher costs, are secondary concerns when making money is the primary function, duty, and responsibility of the corporation. This is to be understood about corporations. So as a counterbalance to that, the responsibility of the government is to represent the best interests of the people it is tasked to serve. It is the responsibility of the government to oversee the actions of corporations with force of resolution and law to make corporate resolutions that are harmful to the public, operations of the state, issues of national security, or infringements against the principles that bind our republic as a cohesive cultural unit. Too costly for a corporation to choose that route. Subversion, personal gain, nepotism, corruption, dishonesty, ignorance of the condition of your constituents, a disregard of the will of the people, favoritism over duty to the people, serving foreign interests over the needs of your own people, bringing force against your people, disregard for the oath we all pledge as citizens, with liberty and justice for all. Disregard for the supreme law of the land, a failure to understand and be dedicated to the principles which bind the republic as a nation are all considered dereliction of duty. Bribery, serving foreign interests, fraud, dishonesty, and to betray the spirit of the law within the Constitution is in some cases treason, most cases sedition. To plot to overthrow the Constitution from within the government or from within government office to favor profit over people. Representative entities represent entities over the people you pledge to represent is subversion and sedition. Corruption, in concert to subvert or circumvent or dismantle the Constitution, is conspiracy, covered by RICO, and if necessary, falls within the jurisdiction of military action. Pledge to defend the Republic against all threats, both foreign and domestic. Now, civil forfeiture makes it possible that all entities involved in bribery, subversion, and corruption, part of a conspiracy to undermine the United States government and disregard the spirit of the law, understood and enshrined within the United States Constitution, opens the door for all assets, billionaires and beyond, to be seized by force. And there's more on that point later, but I'm not going to get into that. As for the transfer of power, excuse me, let me wet the whistle here. As for the transfer of power and economic restructuring during a period of deglobalization, technologies exist where mineral deposits, gold, silver, and the like, can be found and detected from space, a ground-penetrating radar known as LIDAR. Now, vast mineral deposits of gold, silver, and other rare earth elements exist, and they are entombed within the ground, which is the safest place to leave them. Well, I say the safest place to leave these industrial and monetary metals is within the mountain. As one fiat dollar reaches the end of a lifespan as it was known to have, a new dollar, internal to the United States, to handle services of exchange within inside the country, would be based on these deposits. Backed by silver, gold, and rare earth elements internal to the United States, we can trade on the value of those deposits and set the value however it is needed. Those that require the security of gold or silver payment can receive a gold or silver payment. For the most part, it is inconvenient to borrow something from Fauci, but I actually mean it in a good way, whereas that guy should be executed, or, well, maybe not executed, but definitely prosecuted for medical fraud. Civilly sued. I don't know why giant civil suits haven't been. I mean, I'd sue this friggin' shoe leather off of that asshole. Like, not even his fucking children be wearing shoes. They'd be more poor than some. Never mind. Christians are not appointed to wrath. Okay. Anyway, those that require the security of a gold or silver payment can receive a gold or silver payment, but for the most part, it is inconvenient to transact in these weighty quantities and divide these weighty quantities. And it is unnecessary to vault, which is already firmly secured beneath the ground. These large parks, under management of the other BLM, not Black Lives Matter, but Bureau of Land Management, remain federal property. To ensure the integrity of the Union and to deny corporate access to national assets. In exchange, these parks will be open for public use by ranchers and other outdoor enthusiasts. That way their cattle can graze and, Now, some gold claims would be opened to the citizens, but with surface rights and rules to pay for gold, silver, etc. I'm not quite sure how how I got off in my wording with this. But the claims are limited. They are available to U.S. citizens only. No corporate charters or coalitions are allowed. And the term of the lease on any such surface claim would be limited to a duration of 3 years. To make a claim, it is expected a portion of the value extracted as a flat percentage would be paid to the county of the claim, reported to the state. County would report to the state, and then that would be overseen by the federal government. And I have reasoning for all this. Now, other areas are public access. Surface minerals are enjoyed by the citizens that captured them, but rules must be respected. And the way to have these rules respected, veterans would be offered positions as rangers to ensure those rules are followed and the claims are I can't even read my own little scribble here. And the claims are maybe protected, I'm not sure. Now, all gold and silver collected in this way, or precious metals, gemstones, whatever have you, would be then taken to an office that assesses and verifies the quality of those materials that the public was free to explore on that open claim. And then an official certification would be issued to verify the quality, the weight, etc. And if that prospector so chooses, although not forced to, they may exchange that gold and silver at the office of that assayer for a generous supply of dollars, which would be more easily transactable. Thus, everyone understands through that effort of standing in the creek for however long it takes, or climbing whatever mountain you got to climb up to get those gold flakes, so you know what it is to be a man, what it is to get what you need to get by hand. Puts a value on things. And everyone would understand the true value of the internal dollar, even if the majority of it was buried and not to be unearthed. What greater vault could there be? So the effort of this time gives that dollar value that is easily understood. And those that have been impoverished, there's an opportunity. Just like in the gold rush, you open a claim, people will run out and they'll be free. They'll get in touch with nature. And it will bring in money, real money. None of that globalization, Bitcoin based on nothing, hacked in a second. Nah, real, in your hands, countable. And you can feel it through the sweat of your time and the heat of the sun and your feet in the creek. You'll be able to get out of the cyber world and live again in creation. Created by the Creator and enjoyed freely. Now, veterans, now patrolling as rangers, would receive a modest home in the fashion of a pioneer, a respectable log cabin, and hunting rights on otherwise restricted land. Very big bonus. And access to the park clinic or hospital at no cost, which would be nearby, and a modest stipend paid from citizens that are leasing claims. And upon their death, the property is returned and passed to the next veteran. Decorated veterans, of course, will have priority for these positions, and the veteran turned ranger has or can or has the decision to save the stipend for their families in the event of their death. Wives would be wise to allocate some portion of that stipend to ensure their own financial security if their veteran husband is to die. Now, details concerning the widows of veterans serving as rangers would be more properly decided by the communities of their creation. Only a community can assess and execute what is proper for them, and in this I can find no authority and have no experience to decide what is best for a community I do not live within. So it is quite possible the decorated veterans or veterans, rangers, those that oversee the park, may decide to do something else with widows. Now, the attitude, this is to move to the emotion of the attitude of Americans, should begin towards seeing or begin to shift towards seeing each other as extended family. When Americans expatriate to other countries, they have a tendency to group around a bar in a neighborhood for no other reason that they are all Americans and share a culturally historical background. And among these groups, you'll often find English-speaking citizens of the free world or free countries from around the world congregating together based on their mutual philosophy. Now I'll go on a little bit more. I don't have too much time left. Now, my city caters very favorably to Canadians, often wealthy, offering a sanctuary of the advantages of tax advantages, the best doctors, and a rigorous adherence to beauty, freedom, vigilance, community, a respect for elders. Note the emphasis. Willingness to do whatever needs to be done, paid or not, in order to maintain the culture of arts and ultimately a respect for tradition. Penalties for animal or elder abuse are severe. When a person is observed to be in need, we act to assist. I've seen this time and time again, and I've done it. Respect for animals, wildlife, gardens, and all people is part of our culture. Like, for example, we have turtles that cross the road, and it's not uncommon for somebody to stop the car, jump out of the car, and get that turtle across the road. We have something called sandhill cranes, which are very intelligent birds. They move in like family units. They've got long memories. Birds are smart, very intelligent creatures. And when they walk across the crosswalk or they walk anywhere else, you stop that car and you let them pass just as if they were a pedestrian. And if we catch your ass running over one, well, you're in deep shit. Because we do not tolerate that kind of nonsense. It's part of our culture. It's not just a bird. It's kind of a part of a symbol of our community. You don't run over children. Okay. We are proud to see our local grocers, our gardeners, our trash collectors, our delivery men. Every working person is treated with respect. Without our grocers, we would not enjoy quality and care in our food. Without our gardeners, we would not enjoy the beauty that manifests with quality care. And without our trash collectors, we would have overflowing garbage. I recognize the man who skillfully drives, carefully drives, a giant trash truck through neighborhoods, because I've watched that man, and I have watched that man watch for children, pedestrian, and he is even looking out for our dogs. I read this extra care, and I generate the expressions with a smile and a wave to demonstrate my appreciation. It is very much a part of our culture to smile and wave. You don't, and it can pretty much be assumed that you are an outsider. You have not quite learned yet how to observe our cultural rituals. We protect this culture with aggressive action of appreciation, doing that what needs to be done, and payment is not required. In your community, it is as beautiful as the beauty and effort you share. As others observe, they emulate, and actions speak louder than words. Now, I was exiled from the city once, and I fought, and I improved to return. And I am extremely zealous regarding the maintenance of our culture. On occasion, this drives me into conflict, which I spoke a little bit about earlier. And I have absolutely no qualms about confronting whosoever confrontation with whosoever, if it strikes my mind to confront them, or my mood rather. And I'll speak to some of the days that I'm carried in the Holy Spirit. Now, we all strive to let our ego go and travel in the Holy Spirit. And some days you recognize when you are in the Holy Spirit. And in those days, I am fully captured by the Holy Spirit, and I do not know where I intend to go, when I intend to return, and all other considerations evaporate as I am led. And I've called this in previous AGR, and I call it still, it's called Following the Path of Roses. Some object of beauty, some curious track, some object out of place, the direction of a star, or an innate attraction towards a source of energy I follow. When traveling in this mystical state, I'm adorned in the rags that you see me in now. Now, sometimes I'll carry a wand of various lengths of different materials, measuring lengths, of string and chalk for marking points so that I may better understand relative position, or to inscribe riddles, puzzles, or language to invoke curiosity. It is natural for a human to enjoy deciphering meaning. And when passing this knowledge to figure out the puzzle, word of the cipher spreads as the wanderers search for the answer. Left in plain sight without a word, building wonder, and when the riddle is solved, they watch for the maker, and I can see elements of my style copied by the seekers who are signaling to me that they have observed. In time, I may greet them. For the moment, I must remain sequestered to quench my pride and to study. And I'll have more on the state of the nation, which could possibly be an endless continuance. But I just wish to illustrate that, number one, things are not as dire as they seem. 2, life is what you make of it. You can make whatever that you wish. 3, if you think we're giving up America and all these principles, you're pretty confused, because that ain't happening. Just like I won't wear a mask in a store or buy from somebody that's like that, I will not bow down. I won't. This life is but a vapor, and I do believe in God, and I will serve God to the best of my ability. And I hope, I pray, that I am able to create that which pleases the Creator. It's been Hank, your pajama scholar. Catch you on the flip side. Thank you for joining me, John. Catch you around.